report. As people come in, it'd be great if you all could, put your name, who you are, where you're calling in from. If you're part of a library staff, feel free to say that. If you're a citizen scientist or a volunteer, feel free to say that. Or if you're from anywhere in the world, like outside the States, say that too. And if you don't mind, for our reporting requirements, it'd be great if you all also put in your zip codes in the chat. That just helps us keep track of who we're reaching and measure our impact. So yeah, as you all come in, just make sure that you put your name, who you are, where you're calling in from, and your zip code.
Like that?
Perfect. There we go. Great example. Oh, Connie, I didn't know you were in Tucson. Very cool.
I'm sorry. Hi, is that Darlene?
No, this is Caroline.
Oh, hi, Caroline.
Hi. I think this is our first time virtually meeting outside of email, so good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Great. All right, I'm going to go on mute for a sec while I get everything ready on my side of things for the webinar, so talk to you all in 2 minutes. everybody. For those who have joined us in the past few minutes, please, as you come in, make sure you put down who you are. If you're a part of a library staff, or if you're an educator or a volunteer or just a citizen scientist, make sure you put that down. You know, maybe city, state, where you're calling in from, and zip code. And if you're international, tell us that too. All are welcome on this call. And then, Dawn, it looks like we hit 11 o'clock in 1 minute. I'm assuming you'll do the introductions.
That's great. Now, actually, if you want to just talk a little bit about, I think you had some ideas about Citizen Science Month. Is that right, to talk about before we start?
Let me quickly, I'm going to mute everybody. You're free to unmute yourself if you have a question during the webinar. Let's see, I'm not muting Sten because he's going to be talking a lot, and Connie too. All right, I think everybody's muted who needs to be muted. But yeah, if you have a question during the webinar, feel free to drop it in the chat, or feel free to just unmute yourself and ask. I think this is good. It's best when this is conversational. But so, hey everybody, I'm Caroline Nickerson. I'm from the SciStarter team. SciStarter is a citizen science hub. So we help citizen science projects find participants that they need. This can be at a hyper-local level. There are some projects that may be focused just on like a stream in a particular town, and they're studying its water quality, and they put that on SciStarter to find participants. Good for them. Some projects are global. You'll hear about some of those today. But basically, we just help regular people do real scientific research that addresses their curiosity, maybe about the night sky, or addresses an issue they care about, for example, light pollution. And to that end, we work with people like who you'll hear from on this call to spread our reach, get more people doing citizen science. And we also do a number of programs. Like we have a Girl Scouts program, we have education programs. One education program, which is really cool, is with a senior center in Arizona. So citizen science is for people of all ages. And we also have library programs. So one big program we're doing, which this is part of, is Citizen Science Month. So in April, we're trying to get anybody anywhere to do citizen science and to plan public-facing events, use SciStarter resources to help you do those, and add your event to SciStarter so you can be part of a global effort. We have a number of themed days and featured projects. The week that kicks off Citizen Science Month in April is Dark Skies Week. And to that end, we have that featured page that you'll hear all about, the darksky.scistarter.org, and featured projects that address the night sky, that you can plan public-facing events at your local library or somewhere in your community, and just to get together and do those projects. Other theme days include Soil Day, Library Week, that culminates with a big day of citizen science in libraries to address environmental and human health. Earth Day is in April, so a lot of people are doing environmental projects to celebrate Earth Day during Citizen Science Month. So there's no one way to do it. We have a bunch of resources for you that we're unveiling in the next week at citizensciencemonth.org. And we're just so proud to be working with the team here and helping put together these resources for you. So I'm going to mute myself and I'll let Dawn take it away.
So do you have the screen shared? Is that right?
Yep, we can all see your screen.
Okay, great. Thanks. Well, thank you very much. The SciStarter and Global Night and the NASA people here have been great. We've been, many of you know, I've been involved with the Library Telescope program in St. Louis, and also we have a binocular program, and that's been very successful. We're very excited about that. But I ran across recently International Dark Sky Association, and I've been involved with that. And I started thinking about how we might connect the idea of light pollution to make that actually work in libraries when people are looking at telescopes. They would want to look at, they're obviously aware of light pollution, and so they start thinking about that. But light pollution also has impact on life on Earth. And so we started thinking about how all this might fit together. And I ran across this SciStarter group and some other folks, and we've been put together what I think is a pretty exciting program. So what we're going to do today, and I know that I've talked with a lot of the libraries in St. Louis. I know there's a lot of time-sensitive things, there's staffing shortages and so forth. So we're going to kind of move through this hopefully pretty quick today. But our goal is basically to give you an overview of the program, just give you an idea of what's really we're talking about. And there's basically 6 projects. We're going to talk about the 6 projects at a very high level to kind of give you a little bit what the flavor is. We're going to give you, because I think it helps me when I think about this, what would a patron see? How would they go about checking out a project, and what would be involved by them to be involved in this project? we have some tools we're going to talk about that you can actually get for the different projects. And to be clear, none of the tools are required to do any of these projects. It's just an extra thing that you can do. And we'll talk a little bit about implementation with some time for Q&A. But what I want to do is I want to introduce our guest right here, Caroline Nickerson. You've pretty much talked everything else you want to say from your point of view about what we're doing here today.
No, just that I put in the chat what I hope you all drop in there. We just want to know a little bit about who you are. So make sure you look in the chat and check that. And I also put citizensciencemonth.org. We're updating that radically in the next week to have resources like plug and play for your events, be these social media templates, printable posters, book lists that you can include in your library. So all of that will be on that website in the next week. So I encourage all of you, especially if you're from a library staff or you're an event organizer, or you're just a person trying to find an event to attend, to go over to citizensciencemonth.org.
Great. Excellent. Well, you guys have done a great job, and I appreciate that. So Sten, our NASA guy, he's been fun to work with. He's got all this great ideas about astrophotos, and he's teaching me a lot of stuff that I don't know. So Sten, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dr. Stan Odenwald. I'm an astronomer at the NASA Space Science Education Consortium. And just as a matter of detail, my name is spelled Odenwald.
Sorry.
So if you
I'll fix that, I promise.
If you Google it, please Google the correct name, because you'll be rather impressed by things. Anyway, the point was that I'm involved with citizen science at NASA. In fact, I'm the director of citizen science for the NASA Space Science Education Consortium. And my goal is twofold. One, to work with scientists to create new citizen science projects, but also, and more important and dear to my heart, is to create fun projects that are not Nobel quality citizen science projects, but are absolutely fun to do. And I thought, well, what a better place to start than playing around with your smartphones. And so I've done a lot of work on smartphones as data gathering instruments. And the one thing they do really well now is they can take photographs of constellations in the sky. So I said, well, hey, why not have people go out and take pictures of constellations in the sky? Well, that led to the whole issue of light pollution, and hence my collaborations with Connie Walker and Don Frickin and others, to try to come up with an idea, and that was to use the Lunar Telescope Program audience to make photographs of the sky with their smartphones, and then I'll be using that in a clever way to produce measurements of sky brightness for Connie Walker's program, which is an actually legitimate citizen science project. So that in a nutshell is what's going on.
Great. And then we have the legendary Connie Walker. She's involved in everything. It seems like everything I touch, Connie somehow has been there or is going there somewhere. So Connie, introduce yourself.
Well, that's just because of my age, Don.
Oh, yeah.
I've been around a while, know.
I know the feeling.
My name is Connie Walker, and I used to be the National Optical Astronomy Observatory that people might have heard of, or NOAO, but now it's gone through this big merger with two other major observatories, and it's called NSF's National Optical Infrared Astronomy Research Laboratory. And if you can say that 10 times fast, you win a prize. But I have been directing the Globe at Night program for about 13 years now. Very successful program and very fun to do, very easy to do. And for those of you that may not know about Globe at Night, it is an international citizen science campaign that does raise awareness of the public awareness of the impact of light pollution. It does this by inviting citizen scientists to measure and submit their night sky brightness observations, and it's very, very easy to do. You really don't need anything but your eyes. But the program that Don and Sten are involved with is an incredible program that I had hoped to do about 10 years ago, and I am so glad that they're taking this up and doing it with the libraries, because that's such an incredible audience to do this type of program with. And they'll tell you about all the embellishments that they have in mind in a few minutes. Thank you.
And I pretty much introduced myself. I am the chapter chair for the IDA Missouri, and I know we have some folks in Illinois, and I will say that we have learned that light pollution has no boundaries, so we don't care. We love to have everybody involved. And I'm also very involved in the St. Louis Library program and also a national level library telescope program. So you can see how all this fits together. Okay, so I've already messed up. Last time I was putting together this presentation, and what do you know? I forgot Dark Sky Week in April. But you can see right there that Caroline's already talked about there's a lot of stuff going on during the month of April. And I think it just makes it a really good timing if we can roll out some of these citizen science projects around light pollution and get those in the public's hand and raise awareness. This is just a really great thing. And by the way, I'll update this presentation for that little misunderstanding on my part. Okay, so let me just talk a little bit about the program itself. So this is an online citizen science program. SciStarter is basically an online citizen science hub. So at the end of the day, folks are going to have internet to get to the projects to do what they need to do. But of course, you know, libraries have pretty good access to that. Because of the kind of data that is collected, there's different types of data. There are different applications that are designed to collect different types of data. For example, there's a very popular app called iNaturalist. Many of you may know about that. And they sort of collect wildlife types of things. And so there's other apps that do other things. So what happens, you go to your online citizen science hub, and then when you complete your project, you'll submit the data through this third party, and we know it's a trusted app. And that's where they collect the data. And that's where the scientists would go out and actually pick it up.
And Don, if you have a sec, I'd love to explain how that works and interfaces with SciStarter. So a number of projects, including Globe at Night and awesome projects on Anecdata, like the project Sten mentioned, are SciStarter affiliates, which means that they've opted in to go to the next level to give you credit for your contributions. So often, you know, when you use the same email for your SciStarter account and for your Globe at Night account or your Anecdata account, there's tracking that automatically goes on in the background. So you're able to go to your SciStarter dashboard and keep track of the number and frequency of your contributions. So that allows SciStarter to assess collective impact for programs like this Dark Sky page, darksky.scistarter.org. It also allows us to give you certificates when you do certain projects, you know, in a sequence or part of a curated experience. And maybe someday it'll allow us to give college credit for different citizen science efforts. I mean, the sky is really the limit, but no pun intended, dark skies. Yeah, as a citizen scientist myself, I really like going into my dashboard to keep track of the different things. And for those of you who use iNaturalist to explore the biodiversity around you, if in your SciStarter info and settings, you can add your iNaturalist username, and that helps keep track of the number and frequency of your iNaturalist contributions.
All right, great. So, and by the way, all this work, SciStarter, through some grants, are able to provide this platform to us for free. So a lot of the work they're doing is really terrific work, and it's being recognized by the funding they get, which is really great. It's a win-win for everybody. So we've selected 6 projects to try to keep it fairly focused, and they all focus on what's called light pollution. And light pollution is nothing more than the artificial light at night. We're worried about how it's impacting the way we view stars and also the way we have impact light on Earth. So we picked 3 projects for what's called the night sky. In other words, when you look up, maybe you're with a telescope, maybe you're just outside walking around, you can look up and take maybe photos of the sky, take a photo of the moon through the telescope, whatever else. 3 projects for the night sky and 3 projects for life on Earth. And we'll talk about those just in a minute. Because I've had a reasonable amount of experience with libraries, I wanted to make sure that the project's skill level was something where maybe a person aged 8 years or older could do it. Now, maybe on some of the star findings, maybe to find a constellation, they might need a little help. For the most part, I feel pretty comfortable that these are something that the ages 8 or older can do. Of course, they have to have the proper library card and all that. And this is really unusual because we have something for every season. In other words, it might be really cold outside, but you can certainly do stargazing. And maybe you want to do something at night or day. And of course, if you have a telescope in your library, it allows you to connect the people to that program. And if you don't have a telescope in your library, then of course, they may have their own telescope to work. So there's a lot of choices. Most of these projects involve the use of smartphones in some way. We wanted to make sure that it was not just an Apple, but maybe an Android. I find a lot of people like the Galaxy type of things. These will all work with that type of thing. And importantly, for the last point, is that I know that libraries are not always funded that well. Some are funded good, but some are not. And we wanted to make sure that all the projects, and I want to repeat this, all the projects can be done without any tools at all. You can do just fine. It's a little more fun. The gadgets are fun, whatever else. No cost at all. It's really just your cost of printing out the materials. And then, of course, if you want to actually get the optional tools. All right, so the 6 projects, what we're going to do is we're going to first focus on the 3 projects in the night sky. And so Stan and Connie, you guys want to kind of walk through these 3 projects, and let's make this, I want to make sure we don't go too far into detail, but just kind of talk about what's this all about. Connie, why don't you take the globe at night, the first one, the measuring light in the night. You've been doing that a few while, so I think you've got a few years experience on that one.
I'm sorry, Don, my earphone fell out. Do you mean for me to talk?
Yeah, so the measuring the light in the night, that's really globe at night, and that's really what it amounts to. And all this project is really doing is going to this project page and submitting the data to your website, globe at night.
Yeah, it's really, really easy. You can do it a couple different ways. You can do it, of course, you can do it just by eye, or you can use something called a sky quality meter, which would be borrowed from the libraries. Now, if you do either way, it doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be both, or just the naked eye, for instance. And you go to our website where there's a report page and enter the data there, or you could do it with your cell phone. And on your cell phone, you would go to our website again, the same thing, which is globeatnight.org. And then you hit on the report page, and you can do it on your cell phone. If it's a smartphone, you're going to automatically put in your date and time and your location. You don't need to type anything in. And the only thing you need to select is which chart that your sky towards the constellation of the month will your sky look like. And then, so that's like 7 choices. And most people in regular cities are choosing 3 or 4. If you're out, if you're in New York City, you're choosing like 1, because you only see a few stars towards a constellation like Orion. And then if you're in the national parks, you're choosing the last chart where you see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stars towards your particular constellation. And then you just click on that chart. That's a chart that'll be your measurement. And then below that, you can choose the weather. And there's 4 different pictures for that. Something clear, something cloudy. Hopefully it's not too cloudy, because that won't make any sense. And then further down, if you want to, and if you have that sky quality meter that you're borrowing from the library, you can enter your measurement there. And then you just click submit, and you're done within a couple of minutes. But the clincher is, you should go out when it's really dark, like an hour and a half after, or at least an hour after sunset, when the moon is not up in the night sky. And to guide you with that, we have 10 days a month in the early evening after the sun has set for an hour or so, that you can take your measurements, that we suggest you take your measurements. And that's about it.
Okay, that's great. Well, this project, when you log into the project page, it actually links you directly to that page. So you don't even have to worry about where the website is. It'll take you right to that, and it makes it really, really simple. So Stan, let's talk about your 2 projects. You have one, astrophotos measuring light pollution, which is a different way to try to get to the answer. And then, by the way, as Connie mentioned, is that you really don't want to moon up whenever you're doing the globe at night. And he's got a project that says, okay, when the moon is up, there's something else you can do. So talk about the first project, the measuring light pollution astrophotos.
Okay, both of these projects are accessible by downloading Anecdata, the Anecdata app, onto your smartphone. Then after you go through a simple registration process, you can then select these 2 projects. The first one, measuring light pollution, it is called night sky light pollution. And the idea here is that all you need is your smartphone. You don't necessarily need one that has a really good capability for faint light photography. You can use something like an iPhone 6S, and that gets you recognizable pictures of the constellation Orion. What you probably will need is a camera tripod and a camera adapter for that tripod, so that you can take exposures that are longer than 1 second, and you adjust that on your camera to make that happen. After about 1 second, your hand jitter becomes noticeable in the star images. So really, you probably need a camera tripod for this second activity for measuring light pollution. But you can also do pretty well just by a handheld photograph of the sky. If you photograph the constellation Orion on any particular night and you see it well enough to identify the stars, take a photograph of it following the instructions given in the project on the project page, and submit it to this Anecdata project. You can just upload it on the data page. This all sounds complicated, but once again, if you go to Anecdata and register and select night sky light pollution as the project information is pretty self-explanatory. Also, the idea is, even if you don't want to contribute to any kind of measurement of light pollution, it's a fun project to do if all you want to do is to take photographs of the constellations in the sky with your smartphone. I've noticed that on the more recent vintages of smartphones, they have such good faint light capability that you can essentially photograph the sky well beyond your visual acuity of seeing stars in the sky. So you'll get really impressive images, once again, if you use a tripod and a smartphone camera adapter. The second project is, let me see, it's called
the lunar photography, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's called Smartphone Photography on Anecdata. And here, it's just a fun project. If you can buy a $12 telephoto lens for your camera, your smartphone, and you have a good camera adapter and a tripod, you can photograph the moon and some really nice views that way. You can also use the Star Blaster 4.5-inch telescope or a telescope of your choice. Put the smartphone up by the eyepiece and use the native camera on the smartphone to grab really nice pictures of the moon and planets and star clusters and things like that. Again, there's for this kind of photography, it requires a tripod, a telephoto lens for 15 bucks, an adapter for a telescope, which costs about $15 as well. So it's a little bit pricey if you want to do that, but this project, I'm just looking for a lot of fun photographs that people have taken with their smartphones. The information on their exposure and all of that is grabbed on the image. So essentially, all you do is have fun, upload your best pictures that you can take of the moon and things that you see through the telescope, and just have fun.
I will say in the last one, I've been field testing this, and the folks are taking pictures of the moon. I'm not kidding. They are jumping down and clapping and excited. They're sharing it with each other, and then they all line up to take their own photos of it. It's really a lot of fun. So, yeah,
it's
great.
It's very addictive, and everybody likes to photograph everything they can think of. So now you can do it with your eyepiece.
And that's what these last two are all about. People love their smartphones. They love to take photos. We're simply directing them in a way that helps us with science. So, all right, so I'm going to move on to the next three projects, which are really focused on Earth. I'm going to kind of skip through these a little bit. The left one is, it's really about what happens whenever there's light pollution. Birds migrate and they basically fly into buildings. And so we're having a lights out program in St. Louis to have lights turned off. But it's around raising awareness with people of birds. So if you take a photo of a bird in a particular season, scientists can find out when you took it. Maybe their finches are turning their colors earlier than they expected. Scientists can understand and research that. It's another way to contribute to citizen science. The next project is exploring biodiversity. It's taking photos of life around you, wherever you are. Maybe it's around your house. Maybe you go in the country and you take photos of different things. And that documentation, because you're able to tell the citizen science apps where you are and what time you took this, they can start figuring out, well, what's happening with biodiversity in your area. The very last project is a kind of little fun project. You have a flower and there's bees or pollinators around that. Scientists want to know what's changing. How are we getting more or less pollinators? And you can take a photo of this. And I can see this could be a lot of fun. You can do this right back in your backyard around your flower garden if you have that. And I think that'll be just really a lot of fun as far as, and all these projects, I've been testing out the tools. They're a lot, I will say they're addictive. They really are. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through just quickly a Patron View because it helps me to understand what a patron would look like. So the first step is that a patron would learn about the program. We have 6 projects. They would learn about the program through your library marketing. Then they would visit your library to check out one project. Say, okay, I'd like to do maybe exploring biodiversity. Can I check out the materials? Then you would, as a library, give them the project instructions, which is a couple pages that you're going to print. We'll have that ready for you and include a little welcome letter. And then they're going to get any optional tools. If you decided to provide tools for that project, they would get those tools at that point. Then they would log into darksky.scistarter.org. If they've never visited before, they'll have to create a user ID, and it's only a one-time kind of thing. After that, we'll remember who they are. And then they're going to select the project that they've checked out, and it'll give them instructions and maybe even some optional materials that they can download to learn more about this. They're going to complete the project, and they'll do this outside, maybe doing outside around their house or around their yard or whatever else, whatever it takes to complete the project. And then they're going to log into SciStarter to submit the data. When you see on the left-hand side, that would be the login page when you're on the SciStarter, and then it will they'll actually submit the data. SciStarter will direct them to the proper place for the particular project. They may submit the data to Globe at Night. They may submit the data to Anecdata or iNaturalist or what's called the Great Sunflower Project. When they submit the data, when they're done, it'll bring them back to SciStarter to finish. Then what they're going to do is it's going to return to SciStarter. They're going to log out, and then they're going to return their materials to the library and hopefully share photos, results with their friends, which we think is going to be a lot of fun. So that's the basic flow of the project. All right, so let's talk about some of the optional tools. I do want to make clear that all the tools are not even needed. It just makes it a little bit more fun. I have learned that the the gadgets are really, folks love this stuff. The first one is actually the more expensive one, and there's really a couple options with this. There's what's called a sky quality meter that you can actually buy from a group in Canada. It's about $85, $90, and the shipping's pretty expensive, but if we buy a bunch of them, or you buy a bunch of them, the shipping's pretty much a flat rate. The shipping goes down. What you do is you hold the sky meter up. That's the little box over here that says sky quality meter. You hold it up, straight up, and you click the button, and it'll take a reading for your area, scientific measurement. And I will say that I've been doing this at shows, and people really love this. They play with it, and they talk about taking us down to their farm or some dark area. They want to know how dark their area is. It's fun, but again, it's not required. The planisphere is obviously a planisphere. It's what's laying down there. It's about $12. It really will help you find the constellations. Sometimes folks are a little confused about where things are, and that's great. And then there's of course a flashlight that would help you to actually read what you're trying to see on the constellation guide. If you bought everything on this for one particular project, this would be about $121. And again, this is by far the most expensive project. And I want to underscore that you don't need the sky quality meter. In fact, you can do the planisphere and the red light without the sky quality meter and do just fine. Or you can do none of that. You can get sky maps off of the internet that'll explain where the constellations are and that's free. And so there's places we can do that. Okay, that's first project. Second project is astrophotos. Actually, I bought this, bought all these tools, by the way, I have them. This is actually kind of fun. I took this little thick gadget on the right here. What you do is you put your smartphone in there, and this has a couple lenses. One's a zoom lens, which is what you see in this little picture right here, and there's a couple little items you can take off the zoom lens and put them in. There's like a fisheye lens or whatever else. The whole thing costs $12, and I bought it off, I think, Amazon. That's shipped, I believe it was. And it's really fun. I was showing this over the weekend at the Science Center, and people were saying, "What is that? That is so cool. Can I put my phone in there?" And so we were having some fun with that. What it really gives you is a steady shot. It's an easy thing to do. It's a little tricky the first time to set it up, but I think if the libraries have it pre-set up and all you have to do is unscrew the zoom lens and screw something else in, I think they're going to have a lot of fun with this. And it's something that maybe most people wouldn't buy, but checking it out of the library to complete this project would be just a lot of fun.
Yeah, Don, if I could jump in here, that's the kind of tripod that would also work well for long exposures to get photographs of constellations. Or you can use a professional, camera tripod, that's optional too, but this tripod works just fine, and it comes with the adapter or the telephoto.
Right, very good. Okay, so the next one here is, this is a fun one. I actually tried this. What you do is you take a library telescope or any kind of telescope, quite honestly, and you'll see down the bottom there that it turns out that this particular adapter is supposed to work for binoculars and microscopes too. So it's kind of a pretty versatile adapter. All you really do is, it's pretty simple. You put this little guy right here on the eyepiece, and you screw it, and it'll tighten it down, and then you put your phone in there, and you have to adjust the phone until it gets just where you can see into the eyepiece. And when you do that, you get a real good steady shot to take the moon. And the cover photo that you had when I started this, I took that in 2 minutes with my iPhone 6S. It's an old one. and it took just a really great shot. And that's the kind of thing people are getting very excited about. I think it's really good. Now, the only tricky part about this one in testing is that for the library telescope, the rubber eye guard, the little thing when you kind of protect your eyes from getting up against the eyepiece, it has to be rolled back to make this thing fit securely. But once you realize that, it actually works okay.
The other thing that's cool about this is that with that kind of an adapter, you can have group observing of something that's in the eyepiece. You don't have to have one person hogging the eyepiece, but you just display it on their smartphone, and 15 people can stand around the smartphone and see what's in the eyepiece.
Yeah, it's really great. So there's an option to this, and this is an upgrade choice. This is one that I tried first before Stan told me about this. This one's it's a little bit more expensive. It's about $50. But what it does is that once you get the phone in there, you can literally use little gadgets to move the smartphone up and down and in and out. And I did this the other day at a program, and we had like 4 different phones come through there in a very short time. It actually fits a little bit more securely on the library telescope because the way it clamps, it's just a little bit more natural fit. But again, both work fine. I happen to like this one as far as when I go out to Star Party because it's just so easy to use. I took literally 3 sets of photos in 5 minutes the other day, and they were all great photos. And you can actually see in this phone right here, you can see where they're taking a photo, and that's about what it looks like. And again, this one will work on binoculars and microscopes as advertised too. All right, so the Birds of North America actually doesn't require any tools, although I will say that I took a picture of a bird the other day using the little tripod at my bird feeder. It's a nice steady shot, and I was able to get a really good shot, but you don't really need it. Frankly, maybe birds are moving too fast, but again, if you wanted to put that in there, you could certainly do that. The Exploring Biodiversity, hello, we're right back to the same tripod. You want to take pictures of animals and plants and things around you, maybe a zoom shot. Same, once you get the idea, this tripod works really good for that kind of thing. And again, I like the tripod. It was really pretty nice. And guess what? The Great Sunflower Project, same tripod again. So I think that one way to go about this would be have a little bit of a pool. Let's say a library wants to do all the projects. They might just have 3 or 4 of these tripods available, and whatever you're checking out, you just go get that tripod, and it doesn't have to be bundled up into a project package. It's just kind of like you give them the particular project instructions and go pull from your stock to get whatever they need to have. Okay, so let's talk about the implementation cost. So I put this together. I got 2 sections. The first section, it says, look, if you want to go full boat, you want to get the nicer sky quality meter, the little bit better lunar photography adapter. If you were to do one project set, that would be 6 projects, you could do this for a little over $200. But let's say you don't have a lot of money, or you're not really sure about this, you can actually take off the sky quality meter and use the less expensive adapter, and you can do a set, one particular library set for a little over $70. So I think that's pretty affordable. And again, you don't have to have any of these tools, but I still think it's a pretty nice option. So as a library, if you decide to go with a program, what we would do is we give you some materials for the patron. This would be a welcome letter, which would be a Word format that you can customize for your library, put your logo up there, your own phone number. We would have individual projects instructions for each of the projects. So it would be a welcome letter and then that particular project's instructions. And then, of course, you would add any tools if they were due the checkout. For yourself as a library, we will give you a project guide. And the project guide would be basically for a particular project. It'll explain what's the checklist of project components that you need. They will be going to iNaturalist app. They will need to have a smartphone. They will need to have internet connection. They might, if you have some optional tools, there's a list of tools that you can have. And then also the access to logos and things like that that you might need to have to produce your marketing material. So that's pretty much the game that we're really talking about today. It's really pretty simple. Now we do plan to get some materials out there for you to access this recording, I think. Is that right, Caroline?
That is right. We're going to post it as a blog post. We're also going to post it on SciStarter's YouTube channel. And for all of you, so I can get your emails to email out the recording to you after, let me drop, this particular call is a standing time we have every week as our Citizen Science Month office hours. So every Thursday at 8 a.m., 11 a.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern time, we basically open these up to anybody and everybody who may have questions about Citizen Science Month or may just want to brainstorm ideas. And we have a mailing list that we ping about bi-weekly with different updates. So I dropped the link in the chat for all of you to sign up for that mailing list. And if you sign up, we're going to be sending out a link to this webinar recording. It looks like someone asked a question. Are project names and links for these cool gadgets available on the website? I'll let Don answer that one.
Yeah, actually, you can go to darksky.scistarter.org and you can log in to that page. You have to create an ID the first time. You can start exploring those projects right now. They're available out there. We'll over the next couple of days, we'll make a couple tweaks because we've been doing a lot of last minute things. But they're functional right now. And one thing that I did not and maybe should have said is that these projects are not created from new. We've actually repurposing projects that have been working a while. All we did is we packaged them into a nice light pollution kind of theme. The only new ones are really the two that Stan is working on, and that where the data is going has been that app's been around a while. So it's just a matter of a couple of tweaks of protocols. But these are all available. They've been actually very busy. In fact, there's some of the more popular projects out there. So we're very excited about the fact we're simply repurposing something that's already existed.
Would you be available to sending the links to the actual like telephoto lens kit that you recommended and the adapter kits with the product names?
That's the project guide. So we're gonna tune those up, and once you tell us that you want to get the project information, I can send all those project guides. What it is, every page has literally all the links that you need to have to actually go out. Now, I want to say this is that we're not recommending a particular project, a particular like tripod. There's a lot of them that do the same thing. We just found a couple examples for you, but you can find others that do the same thing. Stan has yes.
Don, if I could make a comment, you need to be careful with the telephoto lenses for your smartphone cameras, because many of them are just basically clip-ons with an alligator clip, and those basically work very poorly because you can't keep the optics centered properly.
Right. So the project pages that we will give you will literally list for every project. It'll give you the link and you can go decide if you want that one. But we've looked at these and they work pretty well. And I've tested all of them so far, and I like them. Actually, I wasn't real sure about the tripod that Stan sent me. I said, you know what? Once I figured it out, it actually works pretty nicely. And again, the little thing that adapts the smartphone to the telescope. Once I figured out I had to roll the rubber eye cap back, it worked pretty good. I just like the other one from a clip-on a little bit better. But I'm actually going to try it with, I've got a microscope and some binoculars. I'm going to try them with those as well to see how those work. But I can see some versatility there. Yeah. Any other questions, folks, at all?
I saw some others pop up that I was answering in the chat, but just so we can address them out loud. Someone asked, are you required to have an email address to create a user profile on SciStarter? The answer is yes. If you don't have an email already, I recommend making one on Gmail. And then someone also asked, can kids under 13 register themselves, or do they need an adult? Part of our policy is that we say kids under 13 should not register. That doesn't mean that kids under 13 can't participate. For example, with our Girl Scouts program, they participate with the help of their troop volunteer, who's an adult leader. So if you're a child under 13, we encourage you to participate with the help of a trusted adult who would have a SciStarter account and help you with all those different projects.
Yeah, the same applies to Anecdata. They also have the same kind of setup where you need an adult's email address.
And someone also asked if the what was it, the sky quality meter, the sky meter comes with a case. I've only ever seen it in a box. I know in the pilot project that SciStarter and Arizona State did with local libraries in the Phoenix area, those libraries had these really cool like clear boxes that they put all the different kit materials in. So they just kind of packaged it up themselves on their end. So that's a way to do it. And then someone else just asked, will there be any type of group purchase of the materials so we could be working with the same products? For cataloging purposes, this seems easier to work with like items. I'll let Don take that one.
Yeah, I think for St. Louis, we could certainly talk about that. I think some of the items as far as the extra gadgets are probably just about as easily, frankly, purchased by you. But I think these sky quality meters, it's a pretty expensive ship. I think we've been doing a project in the state of Missouri to put sky quality meters out, and it could cost $30 to ship one sky meter, but it's about the same flat rate. So if we buy 10 of them, they'll ship them for almost the same price. And I think we can get them in the $85 to $90 range kind of thing, each plus shipping. So that would be the best place. But We could certainly run by the tools for you, but then we'd have to get them to you. So if you go to Amazon or other places, but we'll work that out. You contact me and we'll make it work in terms of the way it works best for you.
May I comment on that, Don?
Yes.
Yeah, we've been working with Yoona Hedren, which are the makers of the sky quality meter, for over a decade or more. And we've bought hundreds and nearly thousands of sky quality meters. And if you say you're doing this in particular for Globe at Night, he will give you the $85 rate instead of the usual $135 rate. So be careful when you go to the website to order your own. You don't want to do that. You want to contact the owner of Yoona Hedren and say that you're using it for Globe at Night. Can you get the $85 rate? Okay.
And for the St. Louis group, what I'm suggesting is that we just coordinate together, and I'll work out just one big purchase if we want to roll this thing out, so that we can get a really good flat rate too in shipping. Are there any other questions, folks? You guys you've been very patient. We appreciate that. This is about the time length I wanted. I didn't want it to go too long, but hopefully you've had a chance to get an idea. I encourage you, whether you're in the state of Missouri or out, just to go ahead and give me a call if you have any questions about this. This is very exciting. And the team, by the way, I thank SciStarter and Sten and Connie and the Globe at Night group. They've done just a terrific job. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully you'll see that it could be very much worked right with the Library Telescope program, the Nocturne program, and it'll be a lot of fun. One thing that somebody was asking about the child, I was thinking about that. We actually have all the library telescopes already have a condition that you have to be a person of, I think it's 18 or 21 years older to actually check out the library telescope. I think that same kind of thing probably should apply for the libraries for these projects.
Yeah, I dropped some links in the chat. There's the library resources page, which has different information about not only the pilot project SciStarter did with libraries in Arizona in conjunction with Arizona State, with library kits and resources, as well as a librarian's guide to citizen science, which I think is helpful because it has book lists and all that good stuff. So check out the library resources page for that. I also put the Citizen Science Month FAQ page. I hope you all, some of you plan events in April, and maybe you could use April Citizen Science Month as a chance to jumpstart this program in the Missouri area. So feel free to sign up for that mailing list to get a recording of this after, as well as to get updates on our weekly calls, our Citizen Science Month office hours each week. And I also put a link to a webinar we did with StarNet about citizen science in libraries. Just for some of you, it might be just helpful to watch that and hear some success stories from different librarians about how they did it. And once again, thank you to Don, Connie, and Sten. We really appreciate it. And I'm so excited about this program.
Yeah, me too. Thank you very much. Thanks to everyone for participating. And feel free to give me a call if you have any questions.
Ooh, and someone just said in the chat, we have Earth Day events planned. One quick tip is I've noticed a lot of librarians and library staffs taking their existing events for Earth Day and adding citizen science onto it. So if you want to augment a current program with something like this, that's definitely an option too. Just something to keep in mind.
And please note that Earth Day is in the Globe at Night suggested 10-day campaign in April.
Woo! All right. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Uh-oh. Did we want to stay on, Caroline?
Yeah, I'm copy and pasting the chat just to keep it. You never know with Zoom.
Oh, Darlene was on too.
Hi, Connie. Yep, I'm still here. Nice to talk to you. That was so great. Very enthusiastic. I'm excited about doing these projects. Oh, it's nice to talk to you. Do you want to spend a little time talking about the I guess some of the project management tools and the volunteer management tools?
Yeah, I was hoping that.
Could we switch lines so we don't get it on the tail end of this recording though?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Should I look for your email?
Yeah, do you want me to email both of you a Zoom link right now?
That would be great. And if you want to invite Dawn and Sten, that would be great too.
Yeah, if they're free, that'd be awesome. All right, well, then I'm going to end this recording now. So
thank
goodbye.
you.
See you in a sec.
Bye-bye.